I think he's a total spoofer. What do you mean a spoofer? He's a bullshitter.
Wolves coming back from an offside position, but Shane Long was definitely onside. Shane Long has done it!
I'm going to enjoy tonight.
And you should as well.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Unless he's breastfeeding, he should be alright.
Well, there goes that dream. The day has come and gone. We now mourn our greatest opportunity to qualify for the World Cup since the last playoff heartbreak. 2-0 up on the night, ahead on penalties, and we come on the wrong side. Is there more of an Irish way to lose a game of football? Conscious that much of the fallout has been discussed, we will be dissecting an Irish performance in Prague that promised so much. Later we'll also be joined by Portsmouth fan journalist Pepe Lacey to discuss Ireland's newest call-up, Milech Ali. Welcome back to Ireland Radar. This is probably the most sombre we have been over the last 6 months or so. So much of the last year kind of that we've been preparing for an Ireland eventual World Cup. It's not here, James. It's not here. We knew this could happen. We knew this was fully possible of happening, but the way it happened, oh James, the way it happened, I can't think of a worse way of losing a game of football. Full discrepancy, we did advertise a live post-match reaction after the game. It didn't go ahead, I think, for obvious reasons, which was me being far too depressed and maybe a bit too much alcohol in my system. I don't think I can be blamed too much for not going ahead with it. I do feel bad for our great station manager here at Flirt FM, Paula Healy, who helped me set up 2 hours. It was something like that, trying to set up that live stream that we didn't even go ahead with. But yeah. But we will give our thoughts as we head there, and the biggest game the Aviva has ever seen is coming up obviously today, when we face North Macedonia in a UEFA broadcasted, contracted, mandated friendly, James.
It can't get any worse, can it?
No, I think that you will find that it very much can. Look, we'll get on to how we're feeling, that the emotions have settled a bit. We're conscious that we only have Pepe here for a few minutes or so. I think he should be able to hear us. We're going to talk about the new, kind of came out of nowhere, left field addition to the Ireland squad. I mean, so much so that we do the weekly segment Under the Radar, and we've been reusing some players, but his name has never even come up into the mix. So, a bit of a surprise that he's come up. I don't think a lot of people know much about him, considering he's never been involved in the Ireland setup, but that's what we're going to hear about now. Pepe, can you hear us?
Loud and clear, boys.
Perfect, good stuff. So, yeah, who is Milech Ali? Obviously, he's a Portsmouth man now, but honestly, all us and maybe the rest of the Ireland fans don't know much about him. What can we expect from him?
Well, I mean, it's for us down in Portsmouth. It sort of came out of nowhere, really. Working on Sunday, and then found out that Millie Ali's been called up to the Republic of Ireland squad. Now, he's energetic. At Pompey, they're obviously down in the relegation fight in the Championship at the moment, so it's been a bit of a difficult season. A couple of fans having a moan at the owners for signing players on loan. Obviously, Luton now in League One, Pompey in the Championship. So there was a few question marks on his arrival, really. 12 months ago, he joined Luton from Exeter for around 1.5 million, so quite a big price tag 12 months prior, to then leave Luton and join Portsmouth in the Championship. Now, a few eyebrows raised when he first joined, but he sort of hit the ground running, really. Pompey have Josh Murphy. I'm not sure if you're aware of Josh Murphy. He's proven Championship play. He's been absolutely fantastic for us over the last 18 months, but over December he had a fractured metatarsal, ruled him out for the rest of the season. Now, Josh Murphy is Pompey's most attacking output, really. And Millie Ali came in and sort of filled that void, really, straight away. Got to the byline really well, puts in crosses, can use both his left foot, his right foot, very talented. And he's just sort of a bundle of energy, really. He can play 70, 80, 90 minutes at full pace. Now, he started on his debut Sheffield Wednesday, and he was very energetic. We were quite pleased from what we saw. There were a few bits of nerves from him that you could kind of tell, and it hasn't gone down in the stats book, but he kind of got the assist for the only goal of the game, which was promising. It was his cross that sort of took a deflection before it got to Adrian Segsic that got the goal. But on the whole, the first sort of 10 games really at Fratton Park, he's He's been bundle of joy. He's been energetic. So it'd be interesting to see if he plays tonight. The only issue is over the last 4 or 5 games where he's played so many Saturday, Tuesdays, really, he's sort of tired a little bit. So it'd be interesting to see if he can play tonight.
And Pepe James here, has he been kind of a regular starter for Portsmouth, and where is he kind of fitted into the team there? I'm not sure like kind of how Portsmouth set up formation wise. Has he been someone who's been playing every week? I know he said he's been playing Monday or weekend and then Tuesday. 14 appearances, obviously 1 goal. Where is he kind of fitted as well into the Portsmouth team overall? Yeah,
so he does play every week at the moment. Portsmouth at the moment, they've been absolutely decimated by injuries going in attack basically, and it's been sort of lumped on Millie Ali to sort of get him over the line. There's not really many attackers that can come in and take the sort of pressure off him really. He's a left winger by trade. He can play on the right as well, so he's not limited to just the left. He can play left or right. He can use both feet very well. I think his left foot's slightly stronger than his right foot, but either way, he can go to the byline, get a cross in, or he can cut in on his right foot and have a shot. He's been a good player, a good addition really, but it's just been a bit frustrating where he's had to play so many games, 14 games in the past 2 months, and we've had an international break in between that as well. So he has tired quite a bit, but he is all guns blazing when he does play. There are spells where he is a bit quiet in games, but at the same time too, he does have the quality that can cause opposition defences some problems.
Yeah, so where we're thinking he's probably going to fit in, and we'd like to know if he's quite a similar player for Ireland, is kind of as an alternative to Chiodze Ogbene. Like he's been such an important player since he came in for us under Stephen Kenny a few years back, and Ogbene's never really been a player in England or even in Ireland, especially recently, has come up with many goals or assists, but has been so important to almost any team he's played in because of his physical, like his raw pace and his power. Is that something that Ali possesses? Is it like his physical skills in terms of his running power and an ability to get the ball up the pitch? Is that what you would think his best abilities are? Does he provide a bit more end product? Because I mean that would be our biggest complaint with Ogbene, but I mean Ogbene is one of our best players, and we seen on Thursday when he went off that we had no outball. So I guess that's probably where this decision to bring him in has come from.
Yeah, his end product is okay. Portsmouth had a player called Min-Hyuk Yang on loan the first half of the season on loan from Spurs. He's 19. It was his second loan in the Championship, and it was really frustrating watching him sometimes because when Josh Murphy was out injured during the first half of the season as well, Min-Hyuk was sort of the player that came in on the left, and it was really frustrating because he wasn't putting in any balls into the box. He was sort of trying to cut in on the right foot and have a shot from just outside the box. Now, Ali has he's been a lot more like Josh Murphy. He's had that attacking output. He can dribble past a fullback. He has got that end product. And like I mentioned a minute ago, he can get balls into the box, which sometimes they aren't brilliant, but the idea is there, which is promising. And I think you'd much rather have a player that can put in a good ball into the box. Once or twice in a game. It was an interesting call to see him called up from sort of Portsmouth perspective. I'm not too sure what the situation's like in Ireland, but yeah, he's a player that can take on fullbacks. He can beat a man. He can get balls into the box. He can dribble to the byline, and his overall ball playing abilities are very good. I'd say the level he's at probably right now is about right for him. I know the price tag of 1.5 million just over 12 months ago is quite high. But yeah, at Portsmouth we've seen him 14 games. It's been sort of one side of the spectrum to the other. He started so well, and then has sort of quietened down a little bit. Now the manager down here has sort of labelled that down to tiredness. But if he's with the way he plays, he is a good addition to any team. Now I don't know what that would be like at international level. Obviously, it's still very late in his career, really. 26 to get a first call up. I was seeing what your manager was saying in his pre-match yesterday, and he was sort of calling Millie Ali a late bloomer, really. So yeah, it's a bit of an intriguing one, but it'd be interesting to see if he can play tonight, and sort of how many minutes he can get, because it's definitely an intriguing one to see him called up.
Just on the level he's operating on, Pepe, just looking like throughout Lennox's career, obviously from Lucan in Dublin, joined I think Barry's academy at the age of 14, moved over to England, and then like since then he's like pretty much he played at every level in England. Started off at the Northern Premier League, then National League North, then obviously got his move to League One at Exeter, where he really kind of broke through, and then obviously got the 1.5 million move to Luton that you referred to earlier, and now at Portsmouth again in the Championship. Do you think, from what you've seen from him, do you think like he can really have an impact at the international level? Obviously, probably given his physical kind of attributes and his speed, you would imagine that he would be able to kind of use that to maybe bridge the gap.
Yeah, and when you look at it from the outside with no real perspective, when he joined Pompey, there was a lot of questions sort of about the recruitment and why they brought him in, because you look at his stats for Luton, he barely played for Luton during the first half of the season, and didn't play a single game in his final 6 games at Luton before he joined Pompey. Now the alarm bells were ringing there. We were thinking, who have we recruited here? But when you watch him, he has got that technical ability. He's very good on the ball. He can get balls into the box. And like I mentioned, I was reading your manager's comments, and he sounds like he's quite impressed by him. Now there have been quite a few games Portsmouth been on TV over the last couple of weeks, and he has looked all right. Whether he can do it at international level though is a different question, because when he is fit and he is available and he isn't too tired, he's a really good player, and probably the lower half of the Championship is sort of where he's at in terms of quality. Now the next sort of step up for him is to try and break into that Republic of Ireland squads in the future. Your manager said about he was sort of in contention. He's been called up to the first squad a couple of weeks ago. So he's obviously seen him, he's been impressed by him, and they want to take a closer look at him in training and see what he can possess, because if he is favoured, then sure, he can be called up in the future, and you never know. All it takes is sort of a 20-minute performance, a 20-minute cameo, and you can sort of really make your mark.
Right. Thanks a million for that, Pepe. I think there is a fair chance that he will be involved tonight with, I think, 8 substitutes at play. That it's quite, I think, promising signs that we will see. And I expect him, if he's called up at this stage, and we expected a lot more players to be called up with the switch between competitive to friendly games, but it's only him. It definitely signals good things towards his Ireland future. But thanks a million for that. We won't keep you for any longer, and best of luck.
Lovely. Thank
Cheers,
you very much.
Pepe.
Cheers.
Shout out to Conor Shaughnessy as well, a fellow Irishman at Portsmouth.
Yeah, James, just kind of before we go on dissecting the rest of Thursday's disaster, normally we would switch to an audio bed from here before we swap the topic, but I want to keep on this just for 2 more minutes. I'm interested to see, because he did come out of left field. I mean, it is very much our role with this show to keep tabs on all these players. I don't think either of us had kept tabs on him. Is that bad on us? I don't know. But if you were talking about an Ogbene replacement to come in, which I very much think this is going to be, or an alternative, who I don't expect him to start today, were there other players that you would have put ahead of him in the pecking order, especially in the Championship League One scene? I would have sooner expected like a Sinclair Armstrong or an Amaku or someone like that to come in, who's been featured for the under-21s.
Yeah, I was literally about to reference Adamo Amaku. To be fair, I'd seen some kind of bits about Melenik Ali, just given his like meteoric rise up the divisions, which it is remarkable, like that he like where he started from. Now he's in the Championship, obviously. Hopefully makes international debut tonight, but like first call up to the Ireland national team as well. Like he's his career really has been remarkable, and like I had seen some stuff around maybe his meteoric rise and stuff, but I didn't think that it would kind of mean a call up to the national team for him. The guys you referenced there, the likes of Amaku, probably would have thought were ahead of him. And Amaku, obviously someone who's played in underage level for us in terms of 21s, played in that kind of Ogbene role really, off Sinclair Armstrong for them, which would be probably a similar role that he would play in the senior team with Parrott if we do go with that similar formation we played in Czechia. But yeah, it's interesting. I probably would say maybe what Malenik Ali has going for him is that he's just starting like every single week. Like I know Amaku has had moments this season where he has been pretty promising. Obviously moved to Oxford in January to maybe try and push his way into the Ireland setup and start consistently, but I think he's only played twice the last 4 games. He's been on the bench twice for Oxford. Isn't exactly being consistent enough to probably break into the team, and I think Heimer's shown that bar like Coleman, Ogbene and guys like that kind of have to be in the squad. He kind of does favour you to have had like a good amount of kind of consistent starting minutes to get into the squad, and that's probably what Malenik Ali has over Amaku and other guys at the minute. He obviously is 26, he's a bit of a late bloomer. For me, I don't really think that should be a really contesting issue. Like I think we should call up whoever is in form and whoever's playing, regardless if they've been involved before, whatever age they are. That'll be my point of view. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting one, and like as I said, I think Pepe was talking about his speed and his athletic ability. Like I definitely would be welcoming that, given if you like the game the other night. We'll touch on this later, but the lack of depth, the lack of an Ogbene replacement. If Ali can be that kind of Ogbene type of player for us, like I think it'll be really useful.
Yeah, we're just about to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to discuss all about the disappointment, kind of the things we've took for him and where things might have gotten better. You can join in at the discussion with a free WhatsApp text. You can text us on 083 433 1013. That's 083 433 1013. If you have any opinions about the game itself, anything you agree or disagree with what you said, or maybe some players you'd like to see play in the North Macedonian game, you can send in your messages there to join the discussion live. As I said, we're going to start to talk about all that's coming up.
13th minute of the first period of extra time. Maluta's free kick. Offside.
With Scarlatti now. Does he almost end up on it?
McShane lets it drop. It's already handball. Gallus puts it in the net. But there's the handball by Ori.
And by the way, not just one George, but twice. It's actually hit him on the arm, and then he's controlling with his hand. Just watch it from this angle.
Yes.
And then he's knocked it back to Gallus, and it's easy, but
It's a handball, no question about it. Absolutely no question about it. And France had stolen the lead on aggregate.
the only thing I'll say is the referee's probably not in position to see it. The assistants.
So, James, we're back on Fleur FM 101.3 FM. Of course, where do we start from that utter disappointment, I guess, from Thursday? As I said, I'm normally used to left feeling from an Ireland game that X or Y went wrong. We were up against it. We were the massive underdogs, etc., etc. It was in our hands, and I thoroughly feel like we were the better team. It's heartbreaking, really. Even still, I was not looking forward to doing the show today because I'm kind of trying to keep it all down. But yeah, it's a stark reminder of what happened last week.
To make this all about me as well, I actually didn't watch the first 80 minutes. I had a match myself, so I started watching, I think, on 80 minutes. Had 5 minutes of hope, and then obviously we conceded pretty instantly after I started watching it. So I obviously watched the rest of the game, then extra time penalties. But just to put into context, I actually missed the actual the high points of the game. I missed both goals.
And I do not envy your position of watching it back, not once but twice. You were an absolute sicko. Like what? Like I get why watching it back once.
I needed the clarity. I needed to
look. There's
I needed to grieve and know what went wrong. Like I couldn't.
There's a bit to say about professional responsibility in watching back the entire match for your Ireland radar duties, but watching it back a second time is insane. I'm sorry. Like.
Yeah, but it wasn't the second time because I didn't watch extra time. I didn't put myself through that. I just watched 1 to 90 that I had missed, to be fair. So
Yeah. Look, coming into the game, the obvious questions as we banged the drum for months on end was the midfield issues. The lineup was pretty much as expected once we knew that Conor Coventry wasn't involved in that Boston a while, wasn't going to be training with the squad, or wasn't going to be in the squad, which was the news that broke on the day. When I can't remember a better start to a game or a better half. I think I was turning around. It was Donald I was sitting beside watching the game, who was on the show last week. That it was Scotland the last time that that game a few years back. I remember
away from home. We went 1-0 up. Johnny Egan, I think, was it?
The one that Obafemi scored the screamer in that game as well.
Or the home game, sorry.
The home one, yeah, sorry, that one. That's the best time I remember Ireland played. 25 minutes in. Even to peek back behind the curtain, I'm the most pessimistic football fan. I will still think we'll find a way of losing a game at 4-0 down, no matter what game it is or team. I always think what's going to go wrong. 2-0, I was like, yeah, we've done this. I thought Czechia looked so weak. I thought they looked ready to crumble. Fully expected a goal within the next 10 minutes, and then Ryan Manning makes honestly a mistake that I imagine he's going to spend quite a lot of time losing sleep over, because there's very little rationalising it really. I
think it's that kind of thing where we're so high after scoring, the heart rate's up, the adrenaline is up probably even further. They go up the other end. We're maybe not all kind of calmed down yet. We probably should have took longer celebrating and stuff. And then his head is kind of still on Mars after we go 2-0 up, and he just makes that poor decision and pulls the jersey. And obviously, I even listening to Irish media that were over in Czechia in the stadium, they were saying at 2-0, a lot of the Czech fans seem to be losing faith almost. Even what little faith they had in the team, to fair, because we've obviously discussed the poor relationship that they share with the team over the last few months and stuff. But it did seem to be they were kind of really losing faith at 2-0, and if it was there that at half time,
I think if it went into the second half at 2-0, I think their heads would have been already gone.
It's just to concede so soon after. I know that you could say that about any goal, but specifically in this situation and how poor away to concede the penalty, it was really a kind of a kick in the gut.
I also don't think the game would have went in at 2-0 if we didn't concede it. I fully believe we would have scored another goal within that time. Just how desolate that Czechia team looked. Every decision that their new manager made who came in was the wrong one. Everything he got wrong, from the lineup, from playing the two strikers, from not playing Thomas Soucek in midfield, who I think it's kind of been underrated in covering this game with everything that's happened, that how much his appearance coming on the second half changed again, because he was just able to hold the ball for them, and he made our midfield, which looked incredibly strong, look much weaker in the second half. But you had so much to capitalise on there, and when things like that start to go wrong, there's so much ill feeling, there's so much you can turn it into disappointment and flip it on them, which we had done when we went 2-0 up. But to give that penalty away, I seen I think Ken Early was saying that he's of the opinion that it's because Manning is playing in England and you get away with those things in England, whereas European referees...
I think regardless of VAR in the Championship or anything like that, I think that's just a penalty.
No, he didn't disagree that it wasn't a penalty. It just means that just used to playing in England and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think it was maybe just a moment of madness, and for someone that we were championing that should have been playing, should have been in that game, we're screaming that he should be there ahead of Robbie Brady, and he's perhaps the one with the biggest, it seems like he's the one who's been scapegoated the most, even more than the penalty takers. Also, interestingly, I think Ken Early was saying that he thinks that the atmosphere ramped up by Ireland fans was not helpful, which again I completely disagree with, because I think if you were to progress after this game to get through to Denmark, you needed kind of the occasion that the Ireland fans created to propel the team onwards if they're ever going to. Also, another point I have, I was sitting in the pub watching the game, and after the game everyone was like, oh, we were just going to get battered by Denmark anyways. I mean, that's just a horrible sentiment. You have to, first of all, even if that was the case, it would be excellent from that Thursday, the Tuesday stretch to see how fun it was. But
As well, like Denmark were missing like their whole backline, Christensen, Dorgu. I know this is really stupid talking about this. We're not even in the final, but they're missing. They are weakened. Like I think Vestergaard's going to have to start.
See how mad it was in Prague. Like imagine like all those fans coming home and then going to Dublin for the game. Like surely I think that would get behind the team. Like we would have been in with such a chance. And now
Pierre-Emerick Højbjerg red card. That's what I was calling.
Yeah, now I feel terrible again. Oh my god. I think. If we go into midfield, I think someone we have shouted out so much recently, I think he's going to have an absolutely massive role both on and off the pitch, kind of maybe the next spiritual leader of this side, and deserves all the flowers. Jason Malumbi was excellent, absolutely excellent. I thought in the first half, why did we spend so long talking about this midfield? I thought Taylor was fine. Kind of,
you know what Taylor is. He's not going to exactly break the lines. He's going to play the safe pass. He's reliable-ish in possession. He has that bit more physicality than some of our other players like Knight and stuff. Bit more height on them. That's kind of what he is. I think we know what he is. I don't think we were expecting much more from him.
I think his game kind of got ruined once he got the yellow card for. I don't know what he got a yellow card for, but it
was they were on the counter and he just kind of pulled them back. It was a blatant yellow. He probably didn't really need to do it, to be honest, but
it was just before the penalty, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think
that they got. But I thought like his game kind of he looked a bit scared to get involved after that with challenges. But yeah, Jason Malumbi, like everything, like even
in possession, he thought he was very composed.
Time, I thought he was brilliant. Like I thought he was. I didn't know how he kept running. I thought his tackling. He almost scores a goal as well. You see, he's wheeling away in celebration when that shot hits the post as well. But like he's definitely. I think there wasn't a lot of bad performances on the pitch either. I mean, I think a lot of the substitutes were poor, which we'll probably get.
I think he's someone who has grown in the Ireland shirt the last 3-4 games. Like you can really see it.
Yeah.
Like after being axed from the squad, to come back and kind of really show the ability to play international level. When a lot of people kind of wrote him off as well, said he wasn't technically able and stuff like that. And he's really. I know he has maybe 20 plus caps now, but he really seems to have grown in confidence and stuff in an Irish shirt, and that's obviously a good thing for us moving forward, especially with our midfield issues.
I think particularly, I feel like every game since Portugal, I think I've said this is his best game in an Ireland shirt. Like I thought Portugal was his best game, I thought Hungary then was his best game, and I thought Thursday was his best game in an Ireland shirt, and I think he was Ireland's best player on the pitch. But I think if you point to positives, obviously himself, I think Parrott
alongside Darragh O'Shea, I think
Darragh O'Shea was excellent, absolutely excellent. I thought it was Collins' best game in an Ireland shirt as well. I think he normally struggles. It's a shame for them. Darragh O'Shea is surely going to be in the Premier League next season.
Well, if not the Premier League, another top 4 league or 5 league.
He's not been great, Darragh O'Shea, recently for Ireland. But again, another excellent performance, and that's a player that's going to be around for the next few years. But I think we've got more to talk about than just the players who played well. But I mean, even coming up to just before the free kick was given away, I didn't think Czechia had any hope in scoring. I just didn't see any way.
Yeah,
that
well,
they could score.
there was like a lot of these times when we were winning away from home, or like Budapest, like when Hungary were really pushing to score. They had those couple of chances. Remember Szoboszlai, Salai. They had those moments where maybe if Kelleher doesn't save us, the game's over. Like Czechia really did not look like scoring. It wasn't exactly like a bombardment of chances, even though we couldn't get over a penalty box, which was...
We sat far too deep.
Yeah, we've acknowledged we've sat far too deep. Did Heimer do enough to maybe get them out of that? I don't know. Like Troy was as far back on the edge of our box. Again, the really lack of control in midfield, the lack of quality there kind of hindered us. To the reference point this as well, like there was a time when Azaz, I remember, dropped deeper in the first half to help us in build up. We've done it a couple of times, but I just remember this instance in the first half, and he was ignored by Jake O'Brien, and O'Brien just like tried to smash it clear, or smashed up the pitch. He hit off, I think it was Pavel Sulk, and just went out for a throw in, and he could have just easily kind of played that slide pass into him. I thought like we could have involved him more in build up and maybe got ourselves out of difficult situations more. But back to just before that free kick, and there wasn't that like sense of intense Czechia pressure that we were going to fold. Like we were very much undone by ourselves, which is what I think a lot of the kind of talk has been, and why it's so much more painful, in that we've kind of just lost the game ourselves, really.
I think when you go into the second half as well, and like, look, I'm a terrible person to watch a game of football with, because I'm just like, I'm just so nervous and agitated. But my conversations were just for the entire second half. Why are we sitting so deep? But of course, once you do that, once you go into the second half with the game plan, for all intents and purposes, that did work until a silly foul was given away. I don't think we can put too much on Brown giving away that free kick, because if you do sit deep, I know a lot of people have done, but you are going to give away silly free kicks, and that's going to happen. But
but never mind the free kick. I know there's been talk about, was it a free kick? Like, we left Krejci free in the box to head home. Like, we've like, what is it, 4-6'3" plus guys there. Like, it's inexcusable. Like, whatever you say about, was it a free kick or does he need to give that foul away? Like, we just need to deal with the cross in. Yeah,
not only did the team kind of look tired in the second half, but I think we gave them too much confidence. I think the game plan from the start of the second half was wrong. I think they should have looked to get a foothold on the game. I thought if they got a few early chances at the start of the half, they scared the Czechia team back into, this Ireland team are all over us. Instead, if you sit back from the first few minutes, you give them confidence, and then if Czechia have all the ball for the first 10 minutes of the half, they're not remembering how rattled they were the first 20 minutes of the game.
And I think, like, it's a 2-1 up in a playoff semi-final for the World Cup. We're obviously going to sit back a small bit, but I think even more than that, it was just a lack of ambition shown by our players in the second half compared to the first, when we were really, even 2-0 up, even 1-0 up, we were looking like we wanted to really go at them, win throw-ins, win corners, ever get balls into the box. We were being positive. That second half, like, there was 3 or 4 instances where Parrott maybe had it. We had a counter on. He had a ball to Ogbene to play. He just kept hold of it too long, held it up, passed it back. Like, there was a couple of instances like that where we could have been aggressive.
That Parrott almost played Ida in the extra time. I completely forgot about that. Oh no. Oh, this is horrible. Why are we doing this show?
It's reliving trauma.
Yeah, I think I've been bottling it so much. I keep
again, like, when like Heimer has embraced this kind of chaos ball of obviously being aggressive, getting in the other team's faces, relying on set piece and corners. But when you do that, and you don't have any guys that control the play midfield, this is what kind of happens. Like, do you know what I mean? You can see these kind of, obviously the super free kick, we don't deal with the set piece, but like, if you don't have that control in midfield, or we don't have any control in our game plan, then it's hard to see out games. You know what I mean?
I think what I would say is there's a lot of discussion about that Heimer contract. There always would be. I think a lot of people actually wouldn't mind if we gave him a new contract on the back of that defeat rather than announcing it beforehand. I think it's just the way it was done. But I think the team, which from months ago, when remember we were calling him a 10-man walking, we were saying the team wasn't really moulded in his image. The team looks very much moulded in his image now. Almost everything that he's been saying is what Ireland look like, with the hard team to play against. The one thing is, Ireland, for a team that are this hard physical team to play against, will like give you strong tackles, will get your players sent off. We do concede a lot of goals, and we do concede a lot of sloppy ones, but we're scoring a lot of goals, and that's why I disagreed with the idea to sit back and not really offer much on the counter attack, because like, Czechia could easily be like, all right, Ogbene is their only outball, let's just put a couple of players on that side. But like, we're a team that is conceding goals. Surely we didn't think at 2-1 that our lead was safe, like, in any sense, because like, look at the Hunger game. We conceded goals in that game, we conceded goals obviously in this one, but there's been a lot of 2-2s, 3-2s, that kind of thing, and I think we needed an extra goal. But I think what really, really hurt us now, once the game swung, we never should have got into this situation anyways, but the substitutes were wrong. In some aspects, in the other aspects, we just did not have the right players. Obviously, with injuries and players missing from the squad, we didn't have the right profile of players coming into the squad. And also, I think the omission of Conor Coventry looks even more ridiculous now, because personally, I thought that Jack Taylor needed to go off. I was like, he's blown out there, he's struggling with a yellow card.
Well, the yellow, I think it was just the Heimer being pragmatic, taking him off, he's a yellow.
But when I was looking at the options, I didn't fancy either Alan Brown or Jason Knight to come on.
It's easy for us to say now, looking back in hindsight, you bring on Jason Knight because he's a bit more energy, maybe he's a bit better technically, but then at the same time, like, Heimer's argument would be Brown's a bit more physical, which is fair enough. Like, I just, for me, it's kind of, given the circumstances, kind of pick your poison. I don't think there's faults with bringing either of them on, but obviously, for even putting away Brown's missed penalty, I thought he didn't really give us that control in midfield that we were looking for. Does Conor Coventry do it? Does he have the quality to it at the international level? That's another question, but I definitely think he's more of the profile player to be able to kind of take the ball with the back to goal and just kind of give us a bit of control, because Brown really didn't do that.
Yeah, even in extra time when Ogbene went off, and obviously Ogbene had to go off because he's
it's a miracle he lasted that long, to be honest.
Same with Goldman. Both of them were excellent on that side. But you see, when it comes on, we're having to bring Jimmy Dunn, who has obviously been playing right back for his club, but you're having to bring another centre back on into right wing back. There's your out ball gone. You had to bring on a striker for Ogbene because you didn't have a winger to do all the running. You bring it on Alameda, and you're having to move one of the midfield, or Azaz is into the 10 instead of coming in off the left. You're having to swap the formation around. We lost all runners and all potential counter-attacking opportunities, and it wasn't until really that I thought the kind of second half of extra time that we started looking good again. And I think the big change there was actually moving Azaz into 8, where he could pick up the ball and move it him deeper. That's something I'd love to see today now.
Well, I referenced that earlier. Like, I think it's even not even just playing him at 8, but even him, because of our shorts or because of our lack of ability to kind of build up with the midfield we have. I think him dropping deep and helping us trying to progress the ball up the pitch is an option. To be fair, talking about we didn't have the options to bring off the bench. We did have injuries to Ferguson, Mikey Johnson, who definitely would have played a part. That game would have really, really suited Ferguson given his skill set. Mikey Johnson coming off the bench with his obviously some speed, but also his skillfulness, his creativity could have been very useful on the counter, and he could have slotted in nicely there. Off the left or wherever he was coming on for Ogbene maybe. So at the same time, Heimer hasn't built that depth yet, and that's a reference point we'll come back to later in looking forward to the future. But at the same time, those guys, all three, Ferguson and Johnson in particular, obviously Cullen, they'd all would have played a part if they weren't injured.
Yeah, that is totally true. It's still such a shame, and there's still one elephant in the room that we probably have to do our most ranting and raving about. Penalties.
Can you practice them?
You definitely can.
Some Irish media says you can't.
You definitely can. Look, there wasn't a lot of time for this camp, and I did get the sentiment of you're not putting a lot of thought into penalties because you need to get the on-pitch.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're not doing a whole lot anyway in the build-up to these games physically. You doing penalties at the end of training, that's not concentrating on pens, that's being able to, obviously practicing a scenario that likely is going to happen given, firstly, Ireland, Czechia, 2 teams with very similar quality. Secondly, 2 teams that play a very similar way. The game had a draw written all over it. Possibly not 2-2, but as we said, we move and we learn. But again, it's went to penalties. It was likely to go to penalties. It's a World Cup playoff, and for the points I've just said as well, to kind of come out and say we're not really focusing on penalties, or kind of not putting that much focus into them when given the circumstances I just said. I think it is poor, and I'm kind of disappointed. I haven't really seen any question of it, kind of Heimer's lack of focus put on penalty shootouts. An obvious reference point to practicing penalties literally across the water is England. Southgate's obviously won 3 out of 4 penalty shootouts under him compared to 1 in 6 before him. Stuff like picking, we obviously would have had a set of pre-picked takers, to be fair, but even stuff like that on opposition keepers, practicing under fatigue, which obviously would mirror the extra time issue. I know Jim Crawford's actually said today that throughout the week before their playoff a few years ago against Israel, which they lost on penalties for the Euros, they practiced penalties under fatigue again, trying to kind of mirror what would happen in a match. But stuff like that, even the goalkeeper giving the ball to each player, which is a very common tactic nowadays, very kind of normal thing to do. The Czechs did that, and it's obviously worked for them. But I'm not saying if we do all this we win, but I think you just need to be less kind of naive to the fact that doing these stuff does actually make a difference, and kind of, because it's I don't know, maybe we did do this stuff, but coming out and saying that we haven't put much focus on pens because of we don't have much time, it's just a really stupid and naive thing to say before a World Cup playoff, to be honest.
We're talking about naive things. I'm sure he put himself forward, but why are you giving Alan Brown the 5th penalty when he's missed the pressure penalty before? There's so much chance of that being the pressure penalty. If he's in the order, put him somewhere else. Don't put him number 5. Don't. Would
you like to see Harvey Vale take one given technically?
No, I don't think so, because
really?
I think there's so much given. We've seen so many times in the past, especially in international tournaments, when players are brought on for penalties and they haven't had a touch of the ball and it's just a disaster. They're not warmed up, they're not in the headspace.
Yeah,
this is to an extra level. Not only has he not had the touch, or maybe only had 1 or 2 touches of the ball, he's never played in an Ireland shirt before. It's an awful lot of pressure to make on your debut when you've coming on the 120 minute or whatever it was.
My reactionary take was we should have had him take a pen instead of Brown, but
yeah, no, I still probably would have had Brown from the face of it. I think
not 5.
I think Vale would have been the next penalty taker, but yeah, I don't know. I've a couple of takes on this as well. I think one of the things is, even if you didn't practice penalties, do not tell the entire media that you didn't practice penalties. That's a complete unnecessary pressure. I don't know how many articles, podcasts, stuff that talking about the fact that Ireland didn't practice penalties. That's surely not going to help the players. The other thing is, we knew that this was going to be such a close game. It shouldn't have been such a close game on the face of things with the way things have went, because what we discussed about earlier. But Czechia are a team that are on paper supposed to be better than us, but by everything that was going on, by not much. These were 2 very evenly matched teams facing each other. I think Ireland were better on the day, but there was such a high chance that this game was going to go to penalties. Yeah. And it's such a high pressure game. Normally extra time just is 2 teams playing for penalties with a couple of chances either end. Like, this is your England example is excellent, because they've made like so much more progress in World Cups and Euros and tournaments, and so have many other teams because of practicing penalties. I read somewhere before that like in the last couple of international tournaments, penalties are getting practiced so much more now. Penalties are, you don't see players missing penalties that often.
Well, like even if you watch a World Cup, the amount of penalty shoots we've watched where we'd be like, the standard of penalties is crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think it's
this is not even what we should be doing, like to maybe try and get to the next level and win penalty shootouts. This is like the bare minimum.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know how we should kind of focus on this, given that like it's after the fact, but yeah, like we always knew this was going to be a close game, but I don't know.
Where do we go from here?
Where do we go from here? It's probably going to be a break, James, and then will we talk about
where we go from here after the break?
Yeah, and today's massive third place friendly playoff TV broadcast contract game against North Macedonia, which they've already called the most pointless game in their history. I think there will probably be a bit more talking points, and the more I hear and listen and consume Ireland media, I think it's maybe not the worst thing in the world that we have this game today, because I think the fact that the players haven't left the squad is a sign that they could do it, and it's a united group, and maybe they're not so much pushing on to the next campaign because it's too early to do that yet, and it's too early, but maybe hitting the reset cycle on a campaign that's brought up even a bit more stability, I suppose, to Irish football, without doing the whole divine failure thing that we always seem to get trapped in, because let's not get into that. But what we will do is we'll take a break. We'll come back to you shortly to talk about the upcoming game against North Macedonia.
For Hendrick, who rescues it. O'Shea!
Brady apostolu, ilma juhib 1-0 ja mida veel sellest mängust tahta, milline algus.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were older, then we wouldn't have to wait so long. Wouldn't it be nice to live together in the car?
That's come down only to McCarthy. Played it on for Coleman. Coleman a chance to cross here. Seamus Coleman still. Coleman a little dink into the middle. What about that? What about that? Is that it? Have we seen the moment pass when it might have happened? Let's hope not. Houlihan. Inviting is there. Robbie Brady brings us all to our feet in Rio. No more than Ireland deserve. A fantastic goal to put Ireland in front. Now, just 6 minutes remain. And Leo sees Leon on the horizon.
We're back, James. We're back. This is Ireland Radar on Flirt 101.3 FM. We're still in a somber mood. I don't know if this is being therapeutic or is this gotten me
the
more.
mental health has took a dip the last week. I think that's the minimum.
Maybe I really should have done that live show after the game. Maybe it would have healed me more, maybe released some demons, but I think that would have probably delve too much into over-the-top reactionary commentary that we typically try and avoid over here at Ireland Radar. Before settling on the game a bit, where do we go from here to ask the question again? Heimer's new contract or Hamer's new contract? I still haven't settled on which one it is, and I think
I'm pretty sure it's Hamer.
Right. Where is it? Do you have any differences or any differences of opinions, takes? Do you still think it was the right idea? Do you think things need to change? Or is there questions to be asked of his kind of position as Ireland head coach?
I think firstly, going around the manager merry-go-round was just not an option. I think what we really needed was some continuity. We're on a bit of a good buzz. We had before Czechia, we had some really good results. The national team had been on a high that hadn't been for so many years, and I think giving him a new contract and trying to continue this was probably the right decision. I think my worries will probably, in terms of what happens now, I think obviously Heimer switched kind of tack really halfway through the campaign, going really delving into, or really kind of upping our reliance on set pieces, on throw-ins, really stifling the opposition and really going defence first in terms of his approach, which is good, and it's seen us get results. But
we did also see Jake O'Brien's first successful long throw from Ridge.
And that's a consequence of that.
That's he's getting better at them.
And and I think going forward, especially in the Nations League, especially which we're looking at now, especially the 2 years to the Euros, which we're looking at now, will be very few meaningful games. Whatever two do not qualify for the Euros in 28, obviously out of us, England, Scotland and Wales will qualify automatically. So we could have a scenario where our next possibly 6 to 10 games, including the Nations League, are not that important. And what does this do? Obviously disappoints the nation a bit because there's not much riding on these games, but on the other side of the coin, it gives them a chance to really develop a concrete philosophy, develop our own style of play, rather than obviously entirely focusing on the opposition. And listen, I'm not giving out about our identity, and I like our identity, the way we play, being tough to beat, antagonising opposition, being set piece savvy. But we also need to create a lot more from open play. I think we literally created 0.06 expected goals against Czechia from open play. I know that's probably the game that's the kind of game it was. Two teams who don't play great football, but I just think going forward, I would like to see him develop more of kind of our own style of play and give us more solutions when we're playing against maybe teams weaker than us, like Armenia, the likes of North Macedonia tonight, which we'll see how that goes. But I just feel like there is things he needs to address, and he does have 6 to 10 games that are not that meaningful, that probably won't cost him a job to kind of really get right. Yeah,
I think there's a lot of players that won't be able to be involved in future World Cup qualifying. There'll be a lot of players who won't be able to be involved in 2020, and we'll get on to that in just a minute. So I think he'll be using that May camp in Granada to kind of to see who, he's going to have to retool the squad a bit now. Luckily enough, it is still quite a young squad, so there's a lot of players who'll be entering peak years and prime years coming up in the next bit. But we see with probably Mili Ali that we're looking at alternatives to Ogbene in terms of having options off the bench, so he's got a bit to do there. He referenced in the press conference that Jack Moylan's probably going to come in May. We heard that he was potentially a part of the provisional squad. Some rumours.
Do we get a few quid for promoting him on the podcast the last 3 months?
Yeah. Me asking that question directly to him. His agents can throw me a few bob there. But I think he's going to use that camp to get a look at some more players, and that is so. I do agree that there has to be a solution. Kind of thinking about how we play against smaller teams. I mean, that Armenia game in the Aviva that we won.
The away one just can't happen again.
That can't happen again. But the home one was shocking. We got very fortunate to come out with a win there. But I mean, in his defence, in his last 3 or 4 games, or however many games, that playing against a worse team is not something he's had to think of, which is something he's going to have to think of again. He's just had to think for. Every game has kind of been a cup final since the game we narrowly lost to Portugal. I
do understand that. That would be my hope now, with whatever the 6 to 10 games we have of not that meaningful games, that he's able to come up with a plan and way of playing that will work against teams that are not better than us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the Nations League campaign is going to be about developing some new blood, some new players. Not many. I don't think there's many players that need to come in. I think it's imperative that we get Jacob Devaney a cap, because England,
he looks quality.
England will come sniffing
18 years of age, starting in Scotland, I know we talked about Heimer developing a philosophy, but even squad wise, I know you said there's not going to be many coming in, but the key issues for me, like obviously the midfield again, the midfield question, midfield quality, we want to build that up, and Devaney and Boston Noel are my main two hopes. But even building depth off the bench, I know we referenced there have been injuries for the game against in Czechia, but like I think particularly in wide and attacking areas we can build a lot of depth and just have more options that Heimer can trust, obviously off the back of maybe playing them in the Nations League and breeding them in, and that would be the hope that those kind of issues do get addressed.
Yeah, on today's game, we kind of expect there to be a lot of ins and outs, but given Heimer's statements, which we alluded to earlier, it's probably going to be quite a similar team. I expect probably Liam Scales will come in, maybe at left wing back. Wouldn't be surprised if he wants to give Manning and Brown kind of a run out. I think he had comments about a car crash and about the best thing to do is getting back into the car, so I wouldn't be surprised with, I think he meant the team in general, but I wouldn't be surprised with alluding to those players.
Did you appreciate the car crash reference?
Not exactly, no.
I don't think I've been in a car crash, and
so have I. Yeah,
I would not be jumping straight back in the car. I get the point. Like you don't want to spend too long, and I don't know.
Yeah, to be fair, when I was in a car crash, I was in primary school, so I don't think that was
same.
Yeah. Well, we're bonding over another level.
Bonding over car crashes.
Our trauma bonding today has been Ireland's performance on Thursday and being in car crashes in our youth. But I think we expect it to be a lot of the ins and outs. I think Scales comes in. I don't think Coleman will play or will start. There's a question mark there. We'll get onto that in a minute. Bene surely's not going to start with the amount of minutes he's had. Scales has to start because he was brought into a camp that he can play the first game. He's going to start. He's also a brilliant player. I'll expect him to do that. If he's going strong, I don't see many other changes. Lawal will play. Finally, his debut. I expect him to become an important player for Ireland. I expect him to become, after maybe this set of this game, I expect him to be heavily used in the Nations League games in October and November.
I would like to see him start. Really want to see him start.
I don't think his start is right because of how many games he's played, but maybe he'll get 20-30 minutes or so. And
yeah, fitness wise, and I'll probably have the Stoke manager Mark Robbins coming after me after I said he wants to start. I want to see him start.
I fully see him making an appearance and not being away from the Ireland team for too much longer after that.
Would you like a switch to a 4-back, considering we played a 5-back against Armenia and it was a dreadful watch?
I think this identity, the team can work with a 5-back. You just have to play more attacking wing backs, and or you give Manning more license to go on the left, and maybe if Ebisele was in the squad, you think about playing someone like him at right wing back. Look, the centre halves are the best position in the team. I think you play those. I'd probably keep it at the 5 at the back, just because we don't know a 4-back system at the moment that has worked for us. I would love, obviously, to see the likes of a Banquet come in. I think he's probably going to make appearance off the bench. I think maybe 70 minutes into the game he's going to bring on a load of players.
Harvey Vale, I wouldn't mind seeing start.
I think he'll start. Yeah. I think he'll start for sure. I think also he's going to be such a crucial player for us in the future. Obviously, the FAI has very high hopes on his development. He was highly touted at Chelsea. He's still only 22 years old. Like, he's in a position in his career where he's going to be entering some very important years if he wants to become a Premier League player.
And that should be, again, the granny rule, but like more so kind of getting players from the English system that are not going to be involved in what is an absolutely ridiculous England squad. I think needs to be prioritised, especially with our current shortcomings in positions mentioned. Obviously, kind of wing backs going forward. We could always do with a really technical midfielder. I think we need to get back on the train of recruiting guys from England. But even in the last few years, it has kind of. I know we've kind of got maybe the older guys like the Smodics, but it has kind of waned a bit.
Yeah, but even in attacking areas, I think this is crucial because Sami Smoljic is obviously, and he's recovering from his injury, which we didn't get onto, but that was cynical. That was very cynical from the Czechia player, and I think the referee let the game.
Think Czechia. Firstly, shout out to Sami Smoljic. Hopefully, he does recover and he all is well there. But I think Czechia made double the amount, or had double the amount of fouls of us, but we had double the amount of yellow cards.
Yeah,
which is a bit of a strange stat.
But I look, he's 30 years old. Mike Johnson's 28. a few of the players in attacking positions are getting on a bit. Ogbene, of course, in around that age as well. You bring in a 22-year-old attacker who, by the time qualifying comes around, is going to be for the next World Cup campaign, which will probably experience similar heartbreak. But he'll be about coming into around 25 years old. Like that's such a strong get.
What we don't want to do is Heimer to be like, I have my squad. I'm not going to do any experimentation in the Nations League. I'm going to try win as many games as possible, and I'm not going to prep this team for Euro 2028. That'd be the fear I have.
I don't think he's that type of manager.
Yeah, well, no, I know, I appreciate that, but I'm just saying that would be my fear. I hope we do blood players in those key positions that we mentioned. Seamus Coleman, before we finish.
Yeah, we've not left enough time for this, but we'll go for it. Is he retiring? What do you think?
I love Seamus Coleman. The impact he's had in the squad in the last 3 games has been unbelievable. His interview after the game was brilliant. I think he really represents everything like we want in an Irishman, but also in Irish football, and how he presents himself. But like, I think it's time to blood someone for that position now, given the unique position, as I said, we have of not having that many important games coming up. I think I'd like to see us blood new players in the fullback positions.
It'd be interesting to who plays there now, because I really don't.
We don't have many players coming up. I'll give you that. Sam Curtis I think he's only playing League 2 level now. He's at the 21s. There's not that many options.
Yeah, I know who I think it will be for the future, and I'm not too happy about it. I think it's going to be Jake O'Brien flying right wing back again, which was a disaster at the start of this campaign, because you're a 6'6" player playing on wing back, when I said you're playing the smaller teams, you need the attacking positions. I suppose Alan Brown can play there, and maybe he will play there today. I think he's maybe more of a suitable option, and Jimmy Dunn came on in that position as well. Also another centre back. Maybe Ebisele gets his career back on track, and that's what we're talking about his future position. But look, we only have a few minutes. I don't think Seamus Coleman's retiring. I lay my cards on the table. I don't think he's retiring. I think he would be silly to retire now. I think when he does retire, he's not going to make a big song and dance about it. I don't think he'd be. I don't think they'd even announce it beforehand. I think he'll just give the old Irish goodbye and just be out the back door and not say much, and we won't hear from him again for a while. I don't think it makes sense for him to retire simply because he's not playing games in club football. He's just going to make himself available if he's still, like, we don't know where his club career ends. Like, Everton are hardly going to sign him to a new contract at the end of the season. If not, it's just going to be an ambassadorial role, surely. The only thing he's doing is playing for Ireland, and I think similar to Glenn Whelan in 2018, where we had that weird he's retiring, and he was like, no, I'm not. I'm going to be available until the day I retire from club football altogether. I think Coleman is going to be available, even if he's not involved in squads. I think he's going to be there if they need him. I don't think.
Even if he does retire, could he perhaps return one day in a coaching role?
Yeah, that would be excellent. But I don't think it makes sense for a player where he's had 11 starts since 2023 or something like that in club football. I don't think it makes sense for him to retire from international level before he does from club level. I think they'll all be done at the same time. Like, he is very much an international football player. How excellent he's been. His last 3 or 4 games have been some of the best games I've seen him play in years. Some of the only games I've seen him play in years at that. But it just doesn't, like, other than his age and saying that he won't be involved in a future World Cup qualifying campaign, I think he's going to be there until he puts wraps on his career. Robbie Brady's the other question. I think is he in his mid to late 30s now.
Injuries, he's not really getting featured that much at press, and I would like to see us maybe try blood someone new there.
I think he will just be replaced.
Tell you what, Armola there starting championship
he's
football.
He's doing quite well.
Sheffield
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Welcome back, Kevin O'Toole. Welcome back. It always comes back to Kevin O'Toole. I think he'll just be replaced.
Where is Kevin O'Toole? Who is he? Is he AI generated?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe we'll get him on the show one day. We'll figure it out and just ask him, who are you? But I expect Brady will just be in the short term be replaced by Callum O'Dowda, who's playing quite well at the moment at his club. He's had a very injury hit career. I think himself and Manning will be the left wing backs going forward, who definitely have a bit to offer going forward. Obviously Liam Scales will be in a squad that can play there. I don't think that's it's an issue. It's not that strong, but it's not that much of an issue. We've got options, and I think Adam Arola is really kicking on.
Good
now.
Prospect, yeah.
I think in the next year or two, you could see him really consistently starting a championship club and setting his name down. We only have about a minute left of the show, James. Any closing thoughts?
I suppose we should probably shout out to 21s who are playing in an hour, even though their qualification hopes are probably gone after the draw against Moldova.
It's just so depressing.
It's kind of under the radar how poor a result that is, and how not great a campaign they've had. But a lot of talented players there. It's a young squad. Hopefully they can get a result tonight and build a bit of momentum.
And the positives, of course, with such a young squad in our next qualifying campaigns, you're probably going to see the likes of Anuna and Amelia, etc. Kind of on the fringes of Senior Ireland call-up. I think Jim Crawford said as well when we were at the press conference in Abbottstown a couple of weeks ago that he expects Owen Elding will be in and around Ireland senior squads once he gets his Irish passport, which I believe is on the 12th of April. So we're near Owen Elding passport day. Going to wrap here. It is being Ireland Radar for 101.3 FM. We're going to go to class and we're going to be very depressed about it, because that's not really helped me at all, I don't think. You follow us on Spotify, YouTube, everywhere else. Give us reviews. We're going to play
give us a 5-star if you can.
And honestly, maybe I'm just going to ramble on for 10 more seconds because there's no point playing a song. Where do we go from here? We'll figure it out. Big game today. I mean, we're obviously not going to it. We're still in Galway. But anyways, goodbye.